Hey guys, in this video I thought I would talk a little bit about travel insurance and why I think it's so important to have when traveling to the Philippines. Not only the Philippines, but really on any kind of travels. I'm going to discuss it with some personal stories, so stick around. Alright guys, so travel insurance, what's the deal and why should you have it? And this is not some kind of infomercial on trying to sell you travel insurance, but I just wanted to relay some stories that have happened to myself and to some of my friends. And I guess I'll start off with the first one. And the first one did happen to me. I was scuba diving in Cebu and Mactan, and actually there's an inexperienced diver. I was diving just above some coral. My buoyancy was good, and an inexperienced diver came down. It's like they didn't even see me. They were like right above me, and they couldn't control their buoyancy and pushed me right into some coral, and it ripped my knee open. And I could, you don't really feel it under the water, but I could see that it was painful, and I could see it was bleeding. And so I went back up to the surface, and I was like, oh, this is pretty deep. I probably should get to the doctor. So I always carry a little first aid kit with me in my motorbike, and so I bandaged up my knee. By the time I got to the hospital, my leg had literally swelled up twice the size, and I ended up having to get all the little coral scrubbed out. They had to scrub it all out. I had to get a shot of antibiotics. They had to give me stitches and then a prescription for antibiotics. And it was at that point. I had travel insurance. I had transitioned from working here in the Philippines, and I had regular health insurance here when I was working, and I had transitioned into a little period where I didn't have any insurance, and then I decided, at my age, it wasn't really super expensive. I think I was below, I think it was like 48 or something at the time, and I think it was like around $67 a month. Now I think I pay $107 based on my age category for a month, and it comes with a $250 deductible. So I didn't have, I turned in my claim. It wasn't for a whole lot. I think I spent maybe $350, so I got like $100 back. But I turned it in, and it worked well. So it was that experience that I said, I'm glad I had insurance. And did I really need it for the money? It wasn't that expensive, so it wasn't that I needed it for that. But what happened is I started to think, gosh, this could have been, more serious. It could have been a motorbike accident. It could have been anything. And I started thinking about all the times that I've talked to people who have come out here and how many of them have had things happen to them. And I do want to relay one story. I have a good friend. He got into a motorbike accident. This was during the pandemic in Cebu. He had a passenger. Luckily, when he had the accident, he went down, and the girl, his passenger, landed on him, and she literally walked away with nothing, so not even a scratch on her hardly. And his leg was completely mangled, and he did not have travel insurance, and he was a relatively young guy. I think his insurance would have been like $50 a month. And what happened is he had a credit card. He really didn't have any savings. And he was in the hospital room, and I think he paid for the first surgery, and he paid for the hospital room and everything, and that pretty much ate up the limit on his credit card. In the meantime, he had got hold of his family in the U.S., and they said, we'll send you some money. And so while he was waiting for the money to be sent, and he had an outstanding bill with the next round of surgeries, they actually pushed him into the hallway, cut off his pain medication, and pushed him into the hallway. So there he was with no room, no pain medication, recovering from a second surgery on his foot and his knee. Now, just imagine that. You're here in the Philippines, you get into a motorbike accident, and because you don't have any money to pay your bill, they've pushed you now into the hallway. So there he is, just suffering. And this happened to him, and this made him just like, wow, I really should have insurance. So his mom ended up sending him money, and he ended up eventually getting home where he needed to be. And he still, to this day, has an outstanding bill here in Cebu. And he had to sign some kind of promissory note. Luckily, they let him leave the country with this signing off on this promissory note. Now, the other example is I had another friend, and this was in Mactan, and he had a heart attack. And he makes a good monthly salary, but he didn't have a savings. And he went into the hospital. I remember him calling me and saying, hey, I've had a heart attack. I'm in the hospital here. I'm in the emergency room. I need you to go. I've wired myself some money. Can you pick up or I'm going to wire you some money. Can you bring me the money at the hospital? And I said, sure. So I think he sent like maybe 40,000 pesos, 50,000, 60. I can't remember exactly how much, but he literally had only been in the hospital like 12 hours. I go pick up the money, and I go down there, and there he is. He's just in a little curtain area in the emergency room. And he goes, what I need you to do is I need you to go down and fill out the paperwork and get me a room. And apparently that's how it works. So I go down to the emergency room, and they tell me, well, you got three options. You got this room. You can be in a room with like 6 people. It's this much a night. You can go to this room. It's got 2 beds, and then there's this other one, which is a private suite, and it's this much. And I knew right away. I said, well, he doesn't want to be with like 6 people in a room, and it's a little expensive to have a private suite. It was almost like going into a hotel. You know what I mean? Like you had a choice between a hostel, a shared room with a buddy, and then like a private suite or something in a hotel. And the funny thing is you paid a certain amount of money, and they said it's consumable. So like if you, the amount of money you paid for the room, if you have any tests or prescriptions or whatever, they take it from the amount you paid per night, and because it's consumable. So it's a really interesting concept. So anyway, I paid for that room. I go back down, and they wheeled him to the room. They started doing all these tests, and I think he ended up going home the next day because he ran out of money literally after one day. I think he spent like 60,000, 70, I can't remember exactly what, but he ended up, he probably would have, if he was in the U.S., he probably would have went through multiple tests and all kinds of things before they even released him and found out really what's going on. And who knows if they would have had to do surgery and put a stent in or a bypass. I mean, who knows? They didn't do any of that. But he ran out of money, and he paid his bill and got out. And I think he was literally gone in 12 hours, and I think it was about 60,000 pesos. Well, after the fact, he went and ended up getting travel insurance. Now, if something happens in the future, I think he's 48, so it's only like $67 a month. And I could go on and on of how I talk to people who come here all the time, even just they're here for 2 weeks. Somebody gets dengue fever, they get bad food poisoning, they get into a motorbike accident, there's just a whole bunch of things that I've heard stories on. And nobody ever seems to have travel insurance. Now, I understand it can be a little pricey. So if you're going to live here long term, I'm not saying you need to have the travel insurance as your permanent thing. Now, if you're at a younger age, the travel insurance is probably worth it to keep long term. I keep it long term. And if you're in your 50s and below, you're probably okay. It's very doable. At my age, at 51, I pay $107 a month. Now, I understand if you're 65, 66, it's going to be much more expensive. And so after 1 month of being here and you want to live here, then you probably should start looking into actual health insurance. But for short term, guys, I mean, if you're willing to spend $1,500 US for a plane ticket, spend another $100, spend another $60, another $150, and get a 1 month travel insurance plan. Protect yourself from, I mean, who knows what could happen. You could be in a typhoon, you could be in an earthquake. I mean, just who knows. And the thing with the travel insurance, it also covers things like trip interruption, theft, and all, natural disasters, things like that. So food for thought. It's just, I literally just met another foreigner just the other day. We were having coffee and he's telling me of how he had to go to the hospital. He was admitted for like 2-3 nights with dengue. And he was telling me how much the hospital bill is. And I was thinking to myself, God, if you would have just spent $100 for the whole month that you're here, you would have been protected and you would have only paid a $250 deductible. So I just don't get it, guys. I just don't get it. People will go all out and get, spend at a 5-star hotel here in Cebu or something, or they'll spend, over 2,000 US to sit business class on an airplane, but they won't pay like $100 for some travel insurance for some peace of mind. Again, I hope this doesn't sound like an infomercial. It's just, after this last meeting, I just started thinking about all the times that people, get sick or a motorbike accident or something. So anyway, I have it, and the one I use is down below. It's the one I recommend. It follows you. So for example, I'll be heading out to like Indonesia, Malaysia, probably in like end of October, beginning of November. I don't even have to worry about it. It just kind of follows me. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. If you've had any stories about something happening to you in the Philippines, I'd actually love to hear it. Comment down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Let's take it real slow.